Om Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Sri Ram Jai Ram Namaste. Good evening, everyone. And I'm happy to be continuing tonight with the Song of Rama, Visions of the Ramayana by Vanamali. So the last time we left off where Hanuman and Rama met for the first time, and Hanuman introduced Rama to Sugriva, the monkey chief. Rama and Sugriva, they formed a bond of friendship. Sugriva promised to help Rama get Sita back, and Rama promised to help Sugriva because he was also thrown out of his rightful kingdom by his brother Bali. And his brother Bali had not only done that terrible thing, but he has also taken Sugriva's wife. So Rama is going to help Sugriva kill Bali, and Sugriva is going to help Rama. So there is a fight between Bali and Sugriva, and at some point Rama shoots Bali, and he falls to the ground, and this is where we left off. Bali watched Rama and Lakshman come, and when they were close enough, he said, "I was fighting with my brother when suddenly an arrow hit me from somewhere. I had no quarrel with you, Rama, yet you deemed it right to kill me while hiding behind the trees. Why did you do this? You are said to possess all great qualities. You are famed for having observed the rules of Dharma all your life. Why have you forgotten your own rules? This act of yours will always be questioned. It is against all the rules of Dharma." So saying, Bali fell back, exhausted, to the ground. The Monkey King was fast losing his strength. Rama waited patiently for Bali to have his say. After Bali had exhausted himself, Rama spoke with compassion in his eyes. O Bali, you speak of Dharma and Adharma as if you know all about them, but you fail to see your own misdemeanors. Your younger brother, who is full of good qualities, should have been treated as a son by you. Instead of that, you banished him from his kingdom and took his wife, Ruma. According to the law of this land, anyone who looks on his daughter, his sister, or the wife of his brother with lust should be punished, and punishment is death. Sugriva is as dear to me as Lakshma. I have sworn to be his friend, and publicly gave him my word to restore his kingdom and his wife to him. How could I go back on that promise? I have only kept my word to him, nothing else. So why do you accuse me of adharma? You would have done the same. You would have done the same if you had been in my position. I see that there's something wrong with one of the cameras. We have two cameras set up here. Okay. So hopefully you guys can see me again. I think that must have been a cat again. Wonderful. Alright. So we are in a live edition. So Rama speaks to Vali. You speak of Dharma and Adharma, right? While you treat your own brother so badly. Bali considered Rama's words and realized that he spoke the truth. He bitterly regretted his cruelty to his younger brother, whom he should have treated as a son, as Rama said. With flowing eyes and a choked voice, Bali said, O Rama, you are right. I deserve to be punished. I should die for my crimes, but I am worried about the future of my only son, Angada. Please consider him as your own son and look after him. I realize now that I was fated to meet death at your hands. Rama promised him that he would take very good care of Angada. He stroked Bali's dying body with loving hands, and Bali felt a great peace creeping into his soul at Rama's tender touch. He begged Rama to forgive him. Then he lost consciousness. Tara heard that her husband was killed, and she rushed out of the fortress with her son. She threw herself on his body and cried as if her heart would break. Hanuman went to her and tried to console her. A man reaps the fruits of his actions, be they good or bad. The human body is like a bubble on the surface of the water. No one need mourn for another, since we are all to be pitied. Where is the cause for grief in a world where everything is transient? You are a wise lady, and you know only too well that life and death are inevitable, and this life is most impermanent. This is why we should always try to perform as many good acts as we can while alive. Your thoughts should now be only for your son. Bali painfully opened his Bali painfully opened his weary eyes and saw his brother and said, Sugriva, forgive me for what I have done to you. Accept this kingdom from me as well as my son. Listen to my last wishes. Here is my son Angada, dearer to me than my life. Treat him as your own. Don't forget your promise to Rama. Help him to find his wife. Bali called his son to his side, saying, My child, remember your changed circumstances and obey Sugriva in everything. Accept happiness and sorrow as they come, and do not be too moved by either. By now, his end was fast approaching. Within a few minutes, he was dead. Tara was inconsolable. Sugriva, too, was filled with remorse. Approaching Rama, he said, Rama, you kept your word, and Bali is dead. But now I have lost interest in becoming king. I should never have wished for his death. I am a sinner and not fit to rule. I will not break my promise to you. Hanuman will help you, but all I want is die. All the Vaneras, the monkeys, they surrounded Rama and begged him to take charge of their affairs, since Sugriva was in a state of shock. Hanuman invited him to enter the city and attend the coronation. Rama said, According to the vow I made my father, I cannot enter a village or a city until my 14 years of exile are over. Let Sugriva be taken to the city and crowned. Turning to Sugriva, he said, Go and take up the reins of government. Then, turning to Lakshman and the others, he continued, This is the month of Shravana, the first month of the rainy season. Lakshman and I will spend the 4 months of the monsoons in some cave in the forest. When the rains stop, you can think about fulfilling your promise to me. Sugriva went into the city and was crowned. He was reunited with his wife. Rama and Lakshman found a comfortable and spacious cave which they decided to make their home for the duration of the rainy season. Soon the monsoon set in. The rain fell in sheets, with thunder and lightning thrown in for special effects. Rama and Lakshman could scarcely step out of the cave. There was nothing to distract Rama's mind. All he could do was to sit and brood over Sita's fate. Once, when he saw the watery moon rising over the mountain, he could not contain his grief any longer and broke down and sobbed like a child. Lakshman comforted him as best as he could. Brother, he said, you have often told me that one who loses his mental balance will never be able to accomplish anything. All we need is a little bit of time. As soon as the monsoons are over, we will set out and find her. We will kill the Rakshasa and rescue her. So please don't grieve. Rama was touched by his tenderness. It is hard to be patient when I think of how unhappy my darling is, but I will do my best. Somehow they managed to contain their impatience, and at last the 4 months dragged to a close and the skies became blue once again. Hanuman went to Sugriva to remind him of his promise to Rama. After his years of exile, Sugriva found his new life of luxury intoxicating. Having been deprived of proper food and women for many years now, he could think of nothing else. Hanuman approached Sugriva and reminded him gently of his duty. My lord, your wife and your kingdom have been restored to you by the kindness of Rama. Have you forgotten that you owe him a debt? The time has come for you to repay it. Please set aside your other interests and devote yourself to the matter at hand. Rama is too noble to remind you of your duty, so it is up to you to make all arrangements and inform him of them. Do not provoke Rama's anger. If you do, nothing can save you. Sugriva sent for Nila, who was one of his generals, and told him to get the whole army to assemble in Kishkinda. Within 10 days, the whole hillside was covered with monkeys. They came in the millions from all parts of the country and crowded round their king to await his commands. The bears also came with their king, Jambavan, who was an old and shaggy black bear, noted for his wisdom and respected by all the monkeys. Sugriva summoned his general Vinata and asked him to go east and return within a month. Another troop was dispatched to the west and another to the north. Turning to Hanuman, he said, "You are exceptional. Please take a troop and go south. You are sure to find a way to reach Sita." Rama was delighted that Hanuman was being sent south. Taking out his ring, he handed it over to Hanuman as a token to reassure Sita that he was indeed Rama's messenger. His last words to him were, "Hanuman, remember, I am depending entirely on you. Make every attempt to locate Sita. I know that you will succeed." The monkeys who had been sent to the north, east, and west returned within a month and sadly admitted that they had found no traces of Sita. Sugriva told Rama that Sita must be somewhere in the south, as he had seen her being carried in that direction. He assured Rama that if anyone could achieve the impossible, it was Hanuman, who was the son of the wind god. Hanuman's party, which had gone south, made a thorough search of all the forests and caves. The time given to them was coming to an end, and they were fast losing hope. Then, finally, the monkeys stand on the seashore, watching the magnificence of the ocean. They dared not to go back empty-handed. Angada decided that he would give up his life on the seashore. Those who wanted to join him could do so, and the rest could go back. So saying, he lay down on the hot sand and prepared for death. The rest followed suit. In one of the caves nearby, there lived an old eagle called Sampati, who was the brother of Jatayu. He hadn't eaten for quite a while, since he had lost the strength to look for food. Hearing the monkeys, he came out of his cave and found them all lying on the shore, waiting for death. The monkeys became frightened. They didn't wish to be eaten alive by an eagle, even though they were prepared to fast to death. Angada said to Hanuman, "Just look at what has happened to us. This bird looks as if he is Yama himself, coming to make an end of us. It is said that all birds and animals love Rama. Even the old eagle Jatayu was prepared to give up his life for his sake." When Sampati heard the name of his brother, he called out, "Who are you? What do you know of my brother Jatayu? How did he die? Tell me everything." The monkeys gave him all their news. Sampati's eyes filled with tears when he heard of the fate of his younger brother, and he wept bitterly. Then Angada told him the story of Rama and why they had come there, and asked him if he knew anything about Ravana. Sampati said, "I saw Sita being carried away by that wicked Rakshasa. He held her in a fierce grip while she did her best to wriggle out of his grasp. She was crying out for Rama and Lakshman. I will tell you where Ravana lives." A flash of hope dawned in the hearts of all the monkeys when they heard this, and they crowded around the old bird and begged him to tell them all he knew. He continued, Ravana, his capital, is the city of Lanka. It is on an island, and Sita is a prisoner in his palace. If any of you is capable of crossing the sea, you will be able to see her." The monkeys now clustered on the shore and thought of plans to cross the ocean. They felt quite helpless, but Angada encouraged them to think of some plan and asked them if any one of them could jump that far. There was great excitement in the group when he said this, and one said that he could jump 10 miles, another 20, another 30, and so on. Angada himself said he could jump all the way to Lanka, but feared that he might not be able to make it back. Now Jambavan, the old bear who was part of their group, went up to Hanuman, who was sitting apart, lost in thought. "Oh Hanuman," he said, Why are you sitting like this? Don't you know that you are the son of the wind god and equal in strength to Rama? Lord Shiva taught you many things, including the knowledge of how to change your form at will. Shiva's bull Nandi taught you all the arts so that you became an accomplished scholar. But he also endowed you with great humility so that you can never remember your strength unless someone reminds you of it. We are all on the brink of despair, and only you can save us. Know your own strength and leap to this city of Ravana and save us. When he heard these words of Jambavan, Hanuman suddenly realized his own strength, and he started growing and growing until his head seemed to hit the sky. The other monkeys watched, fascinated by this miracle. He spoke to them, I am the son of Vayu, and there is nothing that I am not capable of doing. I will cross the sea in a matter of moments, see Rama's queen, and bring her back if possible. Climbing to the top of the mountain, he concentrated his mind on Rama and took a flying leap into the air, and, before the astonished gaze of the monkeys, he sailed across the sky. This is where we enter the fifth book. There are 7 books, and the fifth book is called Sundarakanda, the book of beauty. Hanuman stood on the mountain, repeated the glorious mantra, Rama, 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 and concentrated on Rama alone. Then he shook himself and roared like thunder. Placing his hands on the rock, he sucked in his belly and folded his legs. He held his breath, and concentrating his mind on Rama and repeating the Rama mantra, he took a flying leap. He was absolutely confident of his ability to jump over the ocean and find Sita. Because of the force with which he jumped, trees were uprooted. Hanuman coursed through the air like a thunder cloud. Varuna, the god of the waters, wanted to help him and asked the mountain called Mainaka to rise up from the water and give him a resting place. Hanuman was pleased, but refused her offer, since he was in a desperate hurry. Soon he saw signs of land and realized that he was close to his destination. He changed himself into a small, insignificant-looking monkey and stood on the peak overlooking Lanka. He saw a magnificent city built on a hill. It was so well guarded that it would be almost impossible to enter. The mansions were glittering in the evening light, and the hill was covered with trees and flowering bushes. He could see the clean white roads, bordered by green, luscious-looking grass. Situated as it was on top of the hill, Lanka looked as if it were floating on air, for there were clouds surrounding it. Hanuman jumped from rock to rock as he made his way to the northern gate, which was guarded by fierce-looking Rakshasas. He felt that it would be an impossible task for an army to enter Lanka. First of all, how would Rama, accompanied by a horde of monkeys, cross the sea which he had just sailed over? Even if they succeeded in crossing, the lookout posts would be able to see anyone as soon as they landed on the shore. Even my father, the god of wind, would not be able to enter this city undetected, he thought to himself. He decided that he himself would go and discover the whereabouts of Sita, for that was his immediate task. He waited till darkness had set in and then shrunk his body even further to the size of a small cat and went near the gate. He waited till a pale moon floated across the sky accompanied by the stars. He was so small that he could easily have slipped through the bars of the gate, but as he tried to do so, he was stopped by the Rakshasi who was the guardian of the gate. "Who are you?" she demanded. "You look like a monkey. Why have you come here? Tell the truth. No one can enter Lanka without my permission." Hanuman spoke humbly. "Tell me, O lady, who you are. Why are you standing in this frightening pose?" She said, "My name is Lankini. I have been ordered to kill anyone who enters without reason, and I'm going to kill you, unless you tell me the purpose of your visit." Unruffled, Hanuman said, "Madam, I have heard about the beauty of Lanka, and I've come here to see it for myself. I just want to see its glories, and then I'll go away. I have not come here to stay." She was not impressed by his sweet words and said, "You are a stupid little monkey. You will have to fight with me if you wish to enter." So saying, she gave him a slap on his face. Without saying a word, Hanuman boxed her back with his left hand. Even though he didn't use all his strength, she fell down with a thud. She was astonished to be knocked down by a small cat-like monkey. She said, "I had a boon from Brahma that I would be invincible. But he also warned me that I would be beaten up by a monkey. When such a thing happened, he told me that it was a foreboding of disaster for the Rakshasas. I suppose that you have come in search of Sita. You are at liberty to enter the city and do what you wish." Then Lankini vanished from the city forever. Hanuman entered the fabulous city of Lanka and stared spellbound. Wherever he looked, he saw nothing but beauty. There was music everywhere, the tinkle of anklets on women's feet, the rustle of silks and satin, perfume of jasmine and sandalwood, and palaces gleaming in the moon. The army was parading the streets, but he was so small that no one noticed him. At one point, he saw the wondrous aerial chariot of Ravana. It was called Pushpaka, or the flower chariot. Pushpa means flower, and the chariot was covered with flowers. He jumped onto the platform surrounding it and gazed fascinated. At last, he reached a palace which was even more magnificent than the rest. This must be Ravana's, he thought. He slipped in through the doorway, which was exquisitely carved and inlaid with gems and pearls. The seats, couches, and beds were all of gold, set with gems. All the wealth of Kubera seemed to be here. All the most beautiful women from all over had been captured and brought to Lanka by Ravana. Seeing all these glamorous beauties laying asleep, Hanuman began to feel sorry for Ravana. Instead of being contented with all these women, he was deliberately courting death by capturing Sita. Most of the women were obviously under the influence of wine. Hanuman knew for sure that none of these abandoned women could be Sita, however beautiful they may be. He had created a picture of Sita as Rama had described her, and he was sure that the description did not fit any of these women. Suddenly, Hanuman saw a bed made of crystal, ivory, sandalwood, and gold. It was unbelievably beautiful, and he stood for a while admiring it. The white umbrella of royalty was above it. Creeping up closer, he found Ravana sleeping on it. He was a magnificent figure of a man with huge, powerful arms and broad chest covered with white silk. Close by was a woman sleeping on a separate bed, wearing necklaces of pearls and gems. Her beauty was such that she didn't need ornaments. Her skin was golden, and she had an elegance which made him think that he had found Sita. Then he realized that Sita would never be able to sleep like this, without Rama beside her. He wandered about from room to room of the palace without finding Sita. He felt embarrassed at the thought that he was being forced to look at all these females in seductive poses, but then he realized that though he was moving among such extraordinary beauties, his mind was unaffected and untouched by them. Hanuman was a brahmachari. He searched every inch of space in the palace, and then he searched the gardens. He was feeling more and more distressed as the night wore on. Sita was nowhere to be found. He began to think that perhaps she had killed herself or been eaten by the Rakshasas. He knew that he couldn't return without some information about her. Suddenly, he spied another grove filled with Ashoka trees, which he had overlooked so far. It was the only place he hadn't searched. He jumped to the top of the wall surrounding the grove and looked down. Rare trees and flowers were growing in abundance. The night was passing and he still had not discovered Sita. The birds were beginning to wake and fly up into clouds, disturbed by Hanuman's jumps. He decided to hide himself in a big tree which overlooked a splendid platform, in the hope that Sita might come there. Rama had told Hanuman that Sita was extremely fond of flowers and trees, and Hanuman hoped that she might come to that enchanting grove for a walk. The garden seemed to be made for her, with its flowers and waterfalls and ponds. Looking around in the light of the setting moon, he saw a small temple with white pillars. As he peered closer, he suddenly saw her, and he knew unmistakably that this was Sita, the beloved of Rama. It was obvious that she had been fasting for a long while. Her beauty was like a flame hidden by smoke. She was draped in a crumpled piece of yellow silk. She had no ornaments. Tears were flowing from her lovely eyes. Sorrow seemed to be her constant companion. Her long black hair was tied in a simple braid which fell to her thighs. She was surrounded by ugly-looking Rakshasis, horrendous monsters, some with one eye or one ear, and some without ears, and some with noses on their foreheads, some hairy and some bald, some hunchbacked, and some with faces resembling goats, foxes, camels, or horses. In the midst of these monsters, she looked like a frightened deer. She had never known sorrow before, and now it was all she knew. Her eyes mirrored the depths of her despair. Hanuman thought to himself, "This indeed is Sita. She is as beautiful as Rama described her. Exquisite eyebrows, graceful, lips as red as the bimba berry, peacock blue throat, slender waist, lotus petal eyes. All these can be seen through her screen of sorrow." She sat on the bare ground like a female ascetic, the picture of shattered hope. Though parted cruelly from her husband, her mind was full of him, alone. Her lips were constantly murmuring, "Rama, Rama, 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 Rama." Hanuman was overcome with sorrow at the sight of the princess, separated so viciously from the one she loved. Fate is indeed all-powerful, he thought to himself. Or else, why should this innocent lady have to suffer like this? The night was almost gone. With the break of day, he could hear the chanting of the Vedas being recited to wake up the demon king. Ravana woke up, and his first thought was for Sita. He had never met with such resistance from any woman in all his life, and he certainly had a lot of experience with females of every type. Her resistance had only served to whet his appetite. It was a challenge to him. He was sure that no woman could resist him for long, and that it could only be a matter of time before she succumbed like so many others. He strode towards the grove of Ashoka trees. Hanuman watched him carefully from the top of the tree. He had only seen Ravana asleep. Now he looked even more magnificent. Hearing the tread of his feet as he approached, Sita trembled in terror and grief. She loathed the very sight of him, but she tried to put up a brave front. She sat on the bare ground. Crossing her arms, she tried to cover her body with her two hands, and thus avoiding his piercing, lusty looks. Looking at her efforts to cover herself, he said, "Why do you try to hide your beauty from my eyes? Wherever my eyes fall, I see nothing but your beauty. Honor my love and accept me as your husband. Do you think I cannot force you to be mine? It is only my intense love for you that stops me from doing this. I want you to come to me of your own accord. Why are you torturing yourself like this? Your lovely hair is matted with neglect, your silk garment soiled and dirty. And you are hungry, you are starving. Come, rise, dress yourself in lovely clothing. Wear jewels and perfume. This ground is not a fitting couch for your flaming beauty. My seductive Sita, why don't you listen to me? Youth and beauty are short-lived. Do not waste both in unnecessary sorrow. Come, shed your grief and accept my love. I will make you the happiest woman in the world, my chief queen." Can't you see that I am crazy with love for you? After having met you, I cannot bear to look at my other wives. Your dress is in rags and you have no ornaments, yet you continue to fascinate me. You have seen me and my glory. What has Rama got to compare with this? Take it from me that you will never see him again. From the moment he had entered the garden, Sita had cast her eyes down. Though she was terrified of Ravana, she said, "I am the wife of Rama, and it is against all the laws of Dharma for you to lust after me. Give up these sinful thoughts. I am not the one for you. Why are you bent on destroying your race? An entire kingdom can perish if its ruler becomes the slave of his passions. Lanka is doomed. Do you think you can tempt me with gold and riches? Rama is to me what sunlight is to the sun. Restore me to him and earn my gratitude, but never hope to earn my love." Ravana answered, "You are different from any other woman I've ever known. Most women respond to compliments and gifts, but the more I offer you, the more you reject me. It is lucky for you that my love controls my anger, or else you would have been killed long ago. Don't think you can escape so easily. You have only 2 more months left of the 12 I promised you. After that, either you share my bed or become my breakfast. Bed or breakfast. The choice is yours. She trembled with rage and fear and spoke bitter words to him. How dare you talk to me like this? I have warned you. Your death is imminent. You call yourself a hero, yet you stole me from my husband when he was not there and took me away by force. Is that the action of a hero? Ravana told the Rakshasis who were guarding her to make sure that she changed her mind fast and strode off, making the ground tremble. As soon as he left, the guards started shouting and abusing Sita. What a stupid woman you are, to refuse to be the wife of this king of kings. Why don't you agree to his wishes and become his wife? Another said, You are very lovely. I have an irresistible desire to feast on your luscious breasts and berry-like lips and delicious liver and spleen. Come, bring the wine, and we will chop her into little bits and eat her. All the feelings which she had repressed before Ravana now broke loose, and Sita burst into heart-rending sobs. She cried as if her heart would break. Leaning on the trunk of the tree on which Hanuman sat, she cried out, Oh Rama, Rama, where are you? Why don't you come? I realize now that death will not approach a person until the appointed time has come, or else how could I continue to live in the midst of these cruel Rakshasis, parted from my beloved? Hanuman could not bear to see her grief, but dared not to come down. Sita, in the meantime, had shed so many tears that she had none left. Heartbroken and lonely, she felt she had reached the end of her endurance and determined to end her life. Hanuman was wondering how he could approach her without frightening her. Surrounded as she was with these hostile creatures, she was sure to mistrust everyone. If I jump down in front of her, she will surely scream and alert the Rakshasis. Then he hit upon a bright idea. Without revealing himself, he spoke from his hiding place in the tree on which she was leaning. Suddenly, Sita heard these sweet words coming from above. There was once a king called Dasarath. He had 4 sons, of whom Rama was the eldest. He went to the Dandaka forest with his wife and brother. One day, when the brothers were away, Ravana stole his wife Sita. Rama was heartbroken and wandered all over the country, looking for her. At last, he made friends with the monkey king who promised to help him find her. The monkeys were sent in all directions to search for her. I am one of them, and I have come here because I have found the person who has been described to me by Rama as being graceful, charming, and beautiful. So saying, he fell silent. Sita was filled with wonder and hope when she heard this. Brushing her hair aside, she looked up at the tree and tried to find out who was responsible for bringing this ray of hope into her despondent heart. Her eyes roved in all directions, but she could not find him. The Rakshasis had given up and were snoring meanwhile under the trees. Hanuman jumped lightly down to a branch from which he could be seen, and at last her anxious eyes spied him, the messenger of Rama, the bringer of hope and happiness. So this is where I am ending tonight. Tomorrow there will be no reading, but we have a ray of hope out of the darkness. Hanuman is now here. So on Friday evening, not tomorrow, I will continue because we need all the equipment and that is not possible tomorrow. Okay, so having said that, I'll finish. Ayodhya Radha Shri Ram Dasarata Nandan Shri Ram Patita Pavana Janaki Vallabha Sita Mohana Ram Ayodhya Radha Shri Ram Dasarata Nandan Shri Ram Patita Pavana Janaki Vallabha Sita Mohana Ram Bolo Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram 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 Bolo Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram 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 Sita Ram Sita Ram Jai Sita 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 Ram Bolo Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram 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 Sita Ram Sita Ram Jai Sita 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 Ram. May all be healthy. May all be at peace with each other. May all be fulfilled. May all be auspicious. Let all be happy. Let all be free from pain. Let all see reality everywhere. Let none have sorrow.